I had not made plans to do a video on the rebuild of 21085 because I thought it would be very, very similar to structure and components to the 282, which is the lowest numbered steam locomotive in the AC Gilbert inventory. I thought it would be so similar, and I have stamped these out so many times, rebuilding 282, 283, 287s, and so forth for owners that I just thought it would be another stamp out, and I have done videos on these before, so why repeat it? Likewise on the 287, of course, it has very much the same structure as the 282, so I didn't think there was a whole lot of value add in doing 21085 in a video, but I was surprised. So let's take a look at some things with the 21085. Of interest to point out is that going underneath and looking at the contact wheels, I found one axle which had a heightened sense of blackening on the axle. I've never seen an axle quite that blackened, and I think it was that one or this one. And what that alerted me to is there might not be enough pressure coming from the contact spring. And that goes back to some of my common hidden problems. And sure enough, when you turn the train over like this, turn the tender over, I fully expect that the axle and the wheels will be elevated. That is, they'll be held up by the tension with the spring. This one, or one of these, was not. It was actually just loose and rattling, which gave me the indication is that the contact spring was not making good contact, possibly sparking. Now, the owner had mentioned that this one was stopping and shorting to the track, and I think that was the root cause of all of its problems. But you know, things like a spark or a loose contact like this might just be enough to cause a reverse unit, especially a 4-position reverse unit, to cycle into neutral and the train stopped. So I polished everything underneath. On the interior, the weight was loose, so once I did the complete disassembly, I tightened up the weight so that it didn't shift around, and also I replaced at least one of the chassis to body screws, which was non-standard screw, and I thought it was extending a bit too much. Also, the owner said that he believed that the pins were not making good contact with the jack panel. Now you'll notice on these trains, as you have rebuilt probably the 21004, the 060 switchers, is that Gilbert reversed these later in the train's life. He put the jack panel in the tender and the plug panel on the boiler assembly. And the owner didn't feel like that it was making good strong contact. And all I did, of course, once I removed the chassis from the body, is go in there and pinch. First of all, cleaned them thoroughly, polished and cleaned them and degreased them, and then pinched the contacts on the interior of the jack panel so that it squeezed the pins a little bit better. I found one hole in a contact spring down here, but I thought it was just too minor to attempt to replace it or even to patch it. It had a little bit of spotty rust and maybe a little bit of blackening from carbon dust as well. One final thing that I noticed is that the tabs were not squeezed firmly on the knuckle coupler. The knuckle coupler could rotate slightly and rattle, so you never know what that dimension or fact might change in the relationship of the draft between the tender and the locomotive. But that was done as well, and that pretty much wrapped up the tender.